Reggie Miller joins us now. Did you have any idea what the Warriors were ready to do, Reg?
Zero. And when we got to the arena, that's when things started to leak out. I had to assume that there had to have been assurances from Kevin Johnson's standpoint as well as Chris Paul, because I believe behind closed doors, the players all had to make phone calls to Chris and for everyone to be unified in whatever the commissioner was going to say at 2 p.m. Eastern. And if he didn't come out swinging hard, I really do believe that the players were not going to play games last night. Now, I will say this. It would have been stronger if they would have said all this on Sunday, because it would have almost forced the hand of Commissioner Silver. But to say it, obviously, last night, that's second-guessing because all of us didn't know what he was going to say. But he blew us all away when he got up to the podium.
Now, what do you mean by saying it on Sunday? That this should have been said?
Well, we knew that if they would have said this on Sunday as opposed to, the after fact, after we knew what he had said, that, oh, yeah, by the way, we were going to not play if we didn't like what he said.
Okay.
If they would have said it on Sunday night before we knew there was going to be a press conference and he was going to be announcing the punishment, obviously, I think it would have, carried more weight. There was one protest, and that was by the Clippers, when they had their shooting shirts inside out.
Did you have
if everyone would have said this on Sunday night, then I would have been like, okay, he's got to come with it.
Was there a contingency plan for TNT in case there was a protest or a team or teams didn't play?
We did not. I guess you probably would have listened to Kevin, myself, and David Aldridge for 2.5 hours.
You would have had to put on a shooting display, I think, Reg.
But, hey, let me say this. Number one, and I know people are saying, well, why are you congratulating the commissioner? He was doing his job. Yeah. To me, he was cleaning up someone's mess, too. And I think 88 days on the job and this be your early on legacy, he hit it out the park. Now, everyone's saying everyone knew how Sterling was for all these years. Yeah, but for a guy to be on the job for 3 months and make the biggest decision early on in his career, that speaks volumes. And I, for one, I knew the fine was going to happen. I knew that. But for him to say banned for life, because I was expecting him to go there and say suspended indefinitely while behind closed doors they find a way to, get him out. But to say banned for life, Theodore, there is no coming back from that. And I think that spoke volumes for everyone.
But do you say this as somebody who's African-American or that you're a former player? I'm like, is there a separation here between the two? When your reaction to this congratulatory towards Commissioner Silver?
I say this for every Joe Schmo that's working in any job, because this doesn't happen just in any professional sports league with billionaire owners. This happens at everyday work jobs. So if you feel that your boss has demeaned you or degraded you or, racial or homophobic slurs or whatever, I think the commissioner was speaking to every person in power that this is not going to be tolerated.
Talking to Reggie Miller, called the game last night. And, the game itself, it seemed almost secondary. It
really was. And I hope we did a good job of obviously highlighting the day's events, because that was really the big story and what potentially could have happened. Because when we pulled up to Staples, because we had to get there early because they said the riot squad was surrounding Staples, there was so much security presence, you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know if the rallies were going to be peaceful or not, which they all were. Thank you, people. You didn't know what to expect. And I think the commissioner's words diffused everything, because the players were great with it. The media, they all seemed like they were on board with it. And now it was time to call a game. And once the game started, I think we did a good job of really just bringing the X's and O's to you, with sprinkled in highlights of what happened throughout the day.
And I thought
And let me just say this. David Aldridge is a rock star. He was fantastic because he almost had 24 hours of nonstop hits on every news cycle and during our game. He was the real superstar of our telecast.
Yeah, and you could hear the emotion in his voice, too.
In the open,
yeah.
About his son. It was just unbelievable.
As far as the games itself, I thought the Clippers played almost with a sense of relief. Like that, you could almost see that something had been lifted off their shoulders and allowed them to play. I guess the surprising element is, Mark Jackson's one of your best friends, and he didn't tip you off on anything that, hey, the Warriors are going to walk off the floor, which remember when people were saying, oh, Mark is saying nobody should show up so he could get a competitive advantage? And I said, I don't think you know Mark Jackson, because Mark was bothered by what Donald Sterling said, played for the man, and said if he's Doc Rivers, he wouldn't coach the Clippers next year. So people thought Mark was saying this so people wouldn't show up, therefore it'd be an advantage for the Warriors.
And Doc Rivers told us the same thing. And Doc told us his players, he says, I'll be fine with it, but just be sure 12 guys are all in. You can't have 9 guys and 3 guys, wanting to play.
Were the Clippers going to walk?
They were going to walk as well. It was a unified front.
Okay, so both teams were walking off the floor.
Both teams were walking, yeah. Okay. It just wasn't the Warriors.
What's your next game?
We're following the series, so this shifts up to the Bay. We're going to Oracle, and we stay on this, and hopefully we get a Game 7 out of this. I do think the Warriors will bounce back up there. A great crowd, great atmosphere. They've got to shoot better because this was a game that the Warriors could have stole. They just didn't shoot the ball particularly well, nor did Steph Curry get enough field goal attempts, only 10.
They did a great job with it.
You're talking about Kevin Durant and, stepping up in big moments. Steph Curry has to step up and have a Game 4 where he had those 33 points. He's got to be aggressive.
Yeah, but, Reg, Kevin Durant is an elite player. He's the MVP. So,
absolutely. I'm just saying your star players, they have to step up this time of year.
Okay, but how much heat does he get, Kevin Durant, if they would bow out to Memphis opening round?
He's the MVP. I think that's white hot. That's a lot of heat. And though it's a bad matchup, no one wanted to see Memphis. It's still the first round. And you're still the number 2 seed, and you're still the MVP. You find a way, Dan.
Okay.
You find a way. We can't make excuses. You find a way.
Who gets more? What's more surprising, if the Pacers bow out or Oklahoma City?
Oklahoma City, because we saw it for the last 2.5 months. The Pacers have been in a downward spiral. So you could say, oh, well, they've been going downhill for the last 2.5 months. For the MVP with a healthy Westbrook, remember he wasn't in the playoffs last year because of one game, because of the knee injury. Yeah, I think it would be the Thunder.
You crushed it last night, Johnny Cash. Look, you went black on black.
You like that, don't you?
Were you making a statement there?
A former player. I was supporting the cause. There was a blackout. I was supporting. That can't happen. I was supporting the brethren.
I like. Hey, you should be proud of last night.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I tried to rise to the moment. You put a little pressure on me, but I love big moments, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Theodore and Danette.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Reg.
Take care, you guys.
All right, Reggie Miller.